Surprise Live. I'm not doing any island requests necessarily. This is more just hanging out. I had some free time this afternoon, so I thought I'd hop on for a while. This is Palo Santo. So if you've ever burned sage, sage is a really good sort of energy neutralizing smoke. You can burn sage in a space to neutralize the energy, sort of help bring it back to center. Palo Santo is good for bringing in light energy or positive energy. Oh, hi. Thank you. Just hanging out. Usually I do these on Tuesdays, but it just seemed like, I don't know. I just felt like hopping on for a Friday. How did I get started on this? Oh, that is a story full of twists and turns. Hello, loves. Yeah, people wonder people often ask me how I got started in this, and I guess the short of it is that I just couldn't take the bullshit of living in of working in the tech industry anymore, and I decided to do something that I actually enjoyed. TMI, like almost everybody around me has COVID. It's really weird. Multiple friends have COVID. Family members have COVID. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had COVID like a month ago, but I never tested positive for it. I enjoy making thousands of people thirsty on a daily basis. Not necessarily, although that's I guess a byproduct of what I like doing. It's more that I like using my voice. Yeah, this strain of COVID sucks. It's really not it's not fun. Oh, hello. The yeah, this morning's TikTok was a lot of fun to do. Villain voices. Oh, good afternoon. I feel like I should, so many other people when they're doing lives, they have music playing. I feel like I should have music playing. Am I a real life Dom with a sub? Um, so I do not have a regular sort of intense dynamic going on currently. No. I do have intimate connections that are subby. I tend to skew Dom around sort of primal and energetic dynamics. And every once in a while, I like to go more into the power dynamic and, sort of do the full control experience. But more typically, I gravitate more towards primal. I am poly, yes. I have identified as poly since 2018. I know. I'm on during people's work days. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little while. Tips for people who are new to being a sub. Um, Work on your boundary setting. Probably number one. There's no such thing as a sub that has no boundaries and has no, and has no safe word. There should not be any such thing. And anyone who claims to have that needs to do some work on their boundary setting. Because the way that you know that that kind of thing doesn't exist is, if you tell a masochist that you have no boundaries, then that can get dangerous. A lot of times my primal vocalizations are involuntary. They just kind of happen. I make a lot of vocalizations in general. If you're hanging around with me for any extended period of time, they're sort of a barometer for my internal state. Oh, thank you. I do have a couple of books on Audible. Yeah. If you go to my profile and tap on my link, you will go to a page where the books that I've narrated are listed out, and you can get linked to them. What are these conversation starters? I have conversation starters. If not my current career, what would I have chosen? I don't know. I chose this career because I love doing this. Yes. Yes, I do love doing ASMR. I know I don't do enough of it. But I do enjoy doing it. No, I would love to be an actor. I actually had a desire to be an actor when I was younger. I just had no idea what I was doing. I also had no idea how to be in front of a camera. I did some background work for a couple of like indie movies at one point. And if you actually look at what I'm doing in the background of whatever the scene is that's going on, it's really bad. But that was also like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Well, see, if you watch any movie or TV show and you watch, like, just start watching the people who are not talking, who are not centered in the frame. Like, if there's any, like, a group, an ensemble of people on camera, and you just watch the people who are not not talking, they're all sort of have this neutral expression, or they're all sort of playing this role of, like, you know, they're kind of intently just sort of invested in what's going on. And I don't know, there's this particular show that I did for a while where, you know, the person's talking and in the background I'm just going Do I do custom audios? I do. I have done custom audios in the past. I will accept custom work sort of on a case by case basis these days. You can email me. Well, I was an extra or a background actor in my early 20s. Is there a voice actor that gives me the shivers? Probably Morgan Freeman. Shawshank Redemption is probably. I mean, Shawshank Redemption was a life changing movie for me. Now, in 1945, when Andy Dufresne asked for a Rita Hayworth, I told him, no problem. What books am I reading? I'm currently finishing The Body Keeps the Score. It's a little bit longer than I thought it would be. Any tips for someone wanting to get into ASMR work? Probably start your own TikTok and just start making shit. doing random content and build a following off of it. Who heals me? Well, I'll say this. There's a series on Netflix that has recently come out that I am a big fan of. A series created by Michael Pollan called How to Change Your Mind. It's a 4-part series. Highly recommend it. It's great. And a lot of the work that those people are doing that he talks about is very close to the type of healing work that I do on a semi-regular basis. And I'm also sort of I work with people who facilitate healing work like that. Favorite comfort show or movie? It changes over time. There are shows that I've watched that have been, life-changing for me in different ways. Although the most recent one, I think, the one that I love the most right now is The Witcher with Henry Cavill. Siri. It's my favorite. I love the video game. I love the book series. It's great. It's such a cool premise. Am I going to do more hypnosis meditations? Yeah, of course. I'm thinking about what type of hypnosis meditation would go next. I did have someone recently ask me for a meditation on grief. And so that's something that I've been thinking about. Also a meditation sort of on protection and strength. I just saw the trailer for the D&D movie today. I'm actually kind of excited about it. Now, the history of D&D movies has not been great. Usually, D&D movies in the past have been kind of snooze fests. But what's the guy's name? Who's the lead actor? He plays Kirk on Star Trek. Chris Pike? No. What's his name? I'm terrible. I'm terrible with actors' names. Yeah, Chris Pine. That's right. The fact that they got him to lead this is probably means it's gonna be good. Okay, you want to know something funny? Why I got Chris Pine and Pike mixed up? Because there are two streets that are like the main arteries of Seattle called Pine Street and Pike Street, and people get them mixed up all the time. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about the next sleep audio as well. I probably need to release a sleep audio on YouTube. It's been a while. How many sleep audios have I released now? I think about 4 or 5. Yeah, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I live I live on I live in Seattle. Daddy's Revenge 3. I don't know. Daddy's Revenge 2 was so controversial. People I don't know how I'm going to be able to top that one. Or maybe I don't need to top it. Maybe it's a little bit more I don't know, more sinister or something. Interestingly enough, I know a few people who have moved from Miami to Seattle. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just, you want to be as far away from Miami as possible, but you stop short of going to Alaska. Hello, hello. I don't have any new tattoos yet, but I am certainly, I actually kind of know what I'm going to get next. I do. I think the Body Worship audio or the audio series is one of my favorites. Because that's closest to how I truly feel most of the time. Like, there are certainly times when I'm a little bit more, let's punish and and restrict and overpower. But I also just love being in this place of admiration. Yeah, I have two audiobooks that I've primarily narrated on Audible at this point. I'm sort of featured in other audiobooks. Actually, there's an audiobook series that I did, I don't know, a few months back. Um, I don't even know if they've released them yet. Yeah, I did Target This, which, fair warning, Target This is a pretty edgy book. The main character is kind of a hard dom, and also morally ambiguous, or perhaps even morally bad in certain ways. But the twist at the end sort of makes up for it. And then there's Reed, which is actually part of the Eidolon Black Ops series. And yeah, that one's a lot of fun. There were a lot of different accents in that one. Reed, I don't know. It, switching between a Southern accent into a Cockney accent into a Spanish accent, and whatever else is featured on there. It's a lot of stops and starts. I will admit I don't I love doing voices and random things, and I do like doing accents. The problem is where people start saying, "Hey, your accent doesn't sound authentic or real." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to go for the authentic accent necessarily. I just want to do a voice." I think the best way that I do accents is by imagining that I'm imitating someone. The one that I like the most is Captain Price. Captain Price from Modern Warfare. Hey, darling. Do you all want to hear me read something? Oh. So I have this really beautiful version of Alice in Wonderland. It's an illustrated book. It's super fun. I think it was actually about a year ago that I did my first live. Trying to read this. And I was super nervous. Chapter 1 of Alice in Wonderland. Oh, thank you for the flowers. Thank you, Dawn. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank, and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close to her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be too late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet. For it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and fortunately was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the bridge. Thank you so much. I'm reading the first chapter of Alice in Wonderland. I'll be releasing this as an audiobook at some point. I'm very excited about it. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, then dipped down suddenly. So suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her, and to wonder what was going to happen next. First, she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well, and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung on pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labeled Orange Marmalade. But to her great disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody, so managed to put it onto one of the cupboards as she fell past it. "Well," thought Alice to herself, "after such a fall as this, I shall think of nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll all think me at home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house." Which was very likely true. Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end? "I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time," Alice said aloud. "I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see. What would 4,000 miles down, I think... For, you see, Alice had learned several things of this sort in her lessons in the schoolroom, and though this was not a very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, there was no one to listen to her. Still, it was good practice to say it over. Yes, that's about the right distance, but then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice had no idea what latitude was, or longitude either, but thought they were very nice and grand words to say. Presently she began again. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it'll seem to come out among the people that walk with their heads downwards. The antipathies, I think. She was rather glad there was no one listening this time, as it didn't sound at all the right word. But I shall have to ask them what the name of the country is, you know. Please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? And she tried to curtsy as she spoke. Fancy curtsying as you're falling through the air. Do you think you could manage it? And what an ignorant little girl she'll think me for asking. No, it'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again. Dinah'll miss me very much tonight, I should think. Dinah was the cat. I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea-time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat. That's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder? And here Alice began to get rather sleepy, and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? For you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off, and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah, and saying to her very earnestly, Now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat? When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Alice was not a bit hurt, and she jumped on her feet in a moment. She looked up, but it was all dark overhead. Before her was another long passage, and the White Rabbit was still in sight, hurrying down it. There was not a moment to be lost. Away went Alice like the wind, and just in time to hear it say, as it turned a corner, Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting! She was close behind it when she turned the corner, but the rabbit was no longer to be seen. She found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all round the hall, but they were locked. And when Alice had been all the way down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever to get out again. Suddenly she came upon a little three-legged table, all made of solid glass. There was nothing on it except a tiny golden key, and Alice's first thought was that it might belong to one of the doors of the hall, but alas, either the locks were too large or the key was too small. But at any rate, it would not open any of them. However, on the second time round, she came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before, and behind it was a little door about 15 inches high. She tried the little gold key in that lock, and to her great delight, it fitted. Alice opened the door and found that it led into a small passage not much larger than a rat-hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest gardens you ever saw. How she longed to get out of that dark hall and wander about among those beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains, but she could not even get her head through the doorway. And even if my head would go through, thought poor Alice, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope! I think I could, if only I knew how to begin. For, you see, so many out-of-the-way things had happened lately that Alice had begun to think that very few things indeed were really possible. Impossible. There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went back to the table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or at any rate a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time she found a little bottle on it, which certainly was not here before, said Alice, and round the neck of the bottle was a paper label with the words, "Drink me," beautifully printed on it in large letters. It was all very well to say "drink me," but the wise little Alice was not going to do that in a hurry. "No, I'll look first," she said, "and see whether it's marked poison or not." For she had read several nice little histories about children who had got burnt and eaten up by wild beasts and other unpleasant things, all because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them, such as that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long, and that if you cut your finger very deeply with a knife it usually bleeds. And she had never forgotten that if you drink from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain to disagree with you, sooner or later. However, this bottle was not marked poison. So Alice ventured to taste it, and finding it very nice, it had in fact a sort of mixed flavor of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, toffee, and hot buttered toast. She very soon finished it off. "What a curious feeling," said Alice. "I must be shutting up like a telescope." And so it was indeed. She was now only 10 inches high, and her face brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that little lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes to see if she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this, for it might end, you know, said Alice to herself. "In my going out altogether like a candle, I wonder what I should be like then." And she tried to fancy what the flame of a candle is like after the candle is blown out, for she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided on going into the garden at once. But alas for poor Alice! When she got to the door, she had found she had forgotten the little golden key, and when she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She could see it quite plainly through the glass, and she tried her best to climb up one of the legs of the table, but it was too slippery. And when she had tired herself out with trying, the poor little thing sat down and cried. "Come, there's no use in crying like that," said Alice to herself rather sharply. "I advise you to leave off this minute." She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it, and sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes, and once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet. She was playing against herself, for this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people. "But it's no use now," thought poor Alice, "to pretend to be two people. Why, there's hardly enough of me left to make one respectable person." Soon her eye fell on a little glass box that was lying under the table. She opened it and found in it a very small cake, on which the words "Eat me" were beautifully written, marked in currants. "Well, I'll eat it," said Alice, "and if it makes me grow larger I can reach the key, and if it makes me grow smaller I can creep up under the door, so either way I'll get into the garden, and I don't care what happens." She ate a little bit, and said anxiously to herself, "Which way? Which way?" Holding her hand at the top of her head to feel which way it was growing, she was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. To be sure, this generally happens when one eats cake, but Alice had got so much into the way of expecting nothing but out-of-the-way things to happen that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. So she set to work, and very soon finished off the cake. And that's the end of chapter 1 of Alice in Wonderland. I know, it ends right in the middle of the moment. It's almost like he was writing a cliffhanger. What happens when she eats the cake? So yeah, I'm going to do that as an audiobook. But if you want to see any of my other audio work or audiobooks or anything that I've done, you can tap on my profile and go to my website, and there's lots of stuff there. Plumb the depths, you will find diamonds. Am I going to continue tomorrow? I don't typically do lives every day. I do lives on a weekly basis. Today was sort of impromptu. I do lives every Tuesday afternoon. Hello. It's nice. It's nice to feel more relaxed. How's everyone's Friday doing? Do you have good big plans for the weekend? I'm going on a hike tomorrow and a birthday party on Sunday. That's my weekend. Hello. It's nice to see you. Oh, thank you. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. My favorite thing about hiking, the gummy bears. No, I love hiking for just being outside. Now I'm definitely going to be getting myself some gummy bears before I head out hiking tomorrow. How's the weather? The weather today is cloudy, overcast in Seattle. But it should be getting pretty hot and sunny next week. What was that? Is Sammy still here? What was that poem that I read that was suggestive but still passed all the TikTok filters? I can't remember. Was it Wendy that got me banned? It was, I don't know. It was one that was like, oh, STP. That's right. STP. No, I don't remember. I still don't remember what was in the poem, though. Oh, hello. Welcome. Oh, that Marquis de Sade recitation. I should probably redo that. That was so good. I feel like that would get me banned on a live if I actually recited that. Wanton bucking. Hello. Has anyone seen Quills? What an intense movie. It was a movie about the Marquis de Sade, played by Jeffrey Rush. It's amazing. It's a great movie. It does not have a happy ending. Yeah, Perfume. Perfume is amazing too. Same kind of deal. Oh yeah, that's the one. You know what it is. All right, I'm going to read this. I did this as a TikTok, but shh. Quiet now. I made love to her on paper and spilled ink like passion across the sheets. I caressed her curves in every love letter. I kissed up and down her thighs in short sentences and prose. I tasted all her innocence without a spoken word. I bit her lip and pulled her hair in between the lines. I made her arch her back and scream. It took only a pen. Yeah, I did this as a TikTok. This was like I don't know, when was this? Back in October or September? I would love to. So fun fact: I actually wrote a script, an audio script for Being Hades, and I've been a little bit afraid of doing it because it's an intense one. But I think I'm gonna have to do that one. I wish that I knew, or like I know that they're sort of workshopping a Netflix show based on Lore Olympus. And I would really love to play Hades, but I don't even know how I would get in front of the right people for that. Let's see. Oh yeah, Hades is his worship of Persephone is probably one of the oldest kinky love stories, isn't it? I am very ready for the weekend. Yeah. It's been a long week in many ways. Do I have an agent? No, I need to get one, though. I should get one. I've had agents before, but I didn't really know how to use them. The problem is, for me, there's also sort of an interest. If anybody knows of a good agent, feel free to email me a connection. So what was I going to say? Yeah. Here's the thing. I've gotten offers of different types of work. I've gotten a number of audiobook offers over the past month. And part of the deal for me around it is that I really need it to be worth the amount of time that it takes me to do an audiobook. As opposed to doing this and doing Patreon audios and other things that sort of support my income. I love doing audiobooks. It's just difficult to navigate the limited time that I have and making sure that I maximize potential. I love doing my Patreon. It's one of my favorite things about what I do, because it's sort of like the creative sandbox that I get to play in. I know that there's so much more that I could do, and it's it's just so much fun to post stuff and get people's reactions. What do I do for a living? I do this. I do Patreon and I do audiobooks. Yeah. Would I read a Rumi love poem? I have a book called The Illustrated Rumi. Let's see if I can find something to read from it. Let me see. The pages of this book are random. Okay, here's one. I, you, he, she, we. In the garden of mystic lovers, these are not true distinctions. A little illustrated Rumi. Yeah, I'm still here for a little while longer. Yeah. How about a Pablo Neruda? I like my chair too. It's green. Let's see. Oh crap. I was gonna read some Pablo, and then my hold on. How about this one? Oh, wait. I Love You Without Knowing How by Pablo Neruda. I do not love you as if you were salt rose or topaz, or the arrow of carnations the fire shoots off. I love you as certain dark things are to be loved. In secret, between the shadow and the soul. I love you as the plant that never blooms, but carries itself in the light of hidden flowers. Thanks to your love, a certain solid fragrance, risen from the earth, lives darkly in my body. I love you without knowing how, or when, or from where. I love you straightforwardly, without complexities or pride. So I love you because I know no other way than this, where I does not exist, nor you, so close that your hand on my chest is my hand, so close that your eyes close as I fall asleep. Pablo Neruda. Thanks for joining my Patreon. There's a lot of random experiments on there. I am slowly trying to learn Spanish. I do not know Spanish, unfortunately. Where am I from? I've spent a lot of time in Seattle. I live in Seattle currently. I was born in Southern California, and moved up here. My parents, my dad worked for Boeing for a long time, so I moved up here. And then I moved around a bit. I did some traveling around the world, and I lived in Colorado for a time. Los Angeles for a little bit of time, I've been around. I'm back in Seattle now just to be closer to family. I lived all over Denver Metro. I lived in Boulder for a bit. I lived in North Denver, the Five Points area. I lived in Lakewood. I've tended to live closer to cities, although I'm noticing more and more that I'm fantasizing more and more about living, outside of the city. A place that perhaps has a little bit of a slower pace. When I imagine my happy place, where is it? And yes, I have been to Canada a few times. I've been to Montreal and Vancouver, BC. I love Montreal. It's like a European city in North America. My happy place is when I think about my happy place, it's more of it's sort of out in nature, out in the forest. I love my tall evergreens. Unfortunately, I've only been to the UK on a layover at Heathrow. I've never actually spent any time in the UK, despite having a fairly rich family history from the UK. Australia is on my bucket list. Um, I've spent quite a time in I spent some time in Iceland. I spent quite a bit of time in Europe and Southeast Asia and Japan. And the next on my bucket list is going to Peru. I'm finally going to South America. I'm going to Peru on the 18th of August. Je parle un peu de français. Very little amount. I know phrases. I took French in high school and college. um, my favorite scents in general, favorite colognes, are more woodsy, sort of cedar-like smells. I love that. I think my favorite book that I've narrated, I actually really enjoyed doing Target This. It's a little, it's edgy. It pushes some edges. I mean, doing Read was fun too because of the accents, but Target This, I don't know. There's something about playing with fire a little bit. That's kind of exhilarating for me. Because I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I don't know if I had conveyed that, but you know, out in real life, I'm sort of I'm a little bit of a weirdo. Yeah, yeah, I love my weirdos. I think you are officially a weirdo if you listen to me. I don't know. The way I would define weirdo is someone who feels a little bit like they don't quite fit into what would be considered normal society, whatever that means. Um, I'm on the neurodivergent spectrum a little bit, and so I've always felt a little bit displaced from my peers. Most of my peers are in the tech industry or you know doing other stuff that I'm not doing. Well, I do need to get off. I'm going to be leaving in about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Maybe a little bit before that because I need to give my voice a break. Yeah, I really enjoy these microphones. I feel like the microphones sort of changed the game for me as soon as I got them. Once I got them working and started playing around with them, holy crap. I used to have just this handheld mic that that was sort of this, $40 USB mic, and the quality is like night and day. What's something I would love to experience for the first time again? I would love to. This is random. I would love to experience watching the movie Interstellar for the first time again. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I so these mics don't work super. These are mics are not super portable, unfortunately. I do have a sort of a travel microphone in my wish list items that is sort of set up for for a fund. And with that microphone, I would be able to get audio from out in the world. I'd even be able to pick up custom sounds for myself because I do Foley work. I do custom audio sound effects for the audios that I do. I try to make it as realistic sounding as possible. If you have heard the Heretic series that I have put out, that's one that I put a lot of work into. There's also, just as far as being able to do the extent, like really push the bar of what an audio experience could do, especially a spicy audio experience. You can go to my Patreon and look up the audio Because You Asked. Of course, that audio is a bit of a CNC audio. It's very intense. So if that's not your thing, don't do that one. Another one that would be good that's less CNC oriented would be my roommate's dad, which was super fun. What is CNC? CNC stands for consensual non-consent. It's a negotiated form of dynamic that should only be done with enthusiastic consent. We only operate in the enthusiastic consent realm these days, anyway. At least in my work. Yeah, the scenes that I've negotiated with people, I have done CNC style scenes in the past, but never without negotiating and setting it up ahead of time first. making sure that I get full enthusiastic consent. And enthusiastic consent looks like no hesitation, fuck yes, let's do it. If it doesn't look like that to me, then it's not going to happen. Y'all should stop listening to me via your car speakers. I can only imagine what that's like, especially when I'm doing the binaural thing. It's not safe for work. Not at all safe for work. All right. I'm going to do, I don't know, I'll talk you through something. We'll kind of end this live with something a little special. And before I go, just a reminder, if you want to check out more of my stuff, tap on my link up there. Go to my link in my profile and check out my Patreon, check out the audiobooks. There's lots of stuff to explore. The Patreon has tons of amazing stuff. There's lots of people here who can tell you all about what's on my Patreon. So, with that, deep breaths now. Find your breath and close your eyes for a minute. Allowing yourself to drop just a little bit. Feeling relaxed in a space between spaces. You know that you have responsibilities. You know you have things to do. But for this minute, you can drop down into your body and just feel your clothes over your skin. Feel the way my voice vibrates through your body. And soon you may be able to feel a sense of relaxation, a sense of calm awareness, a heightened sense of things. You can hear the air flowing around you. You can feel it. And when you wake up from this, when you open your eyes, you will feel happier. You will feel lighter and ready to take on what's next. On the count of 3, take a deep breath
2, 3.